and welcome back to the Science Library. Today, I wanted to do a little bit of a story time of the time that I had dinner with Drake's dad in Memphis, Tennessee, because there's been a lot of social commentary recently regarding Drake and a lot of conversations about like underage girls and stuff like that. And then I've seen some also accusations of women coming out against Dennis, who is Drake's dad. And so I wanted to give you guys a story time of the time I personally met him and got to go to dinner with him in Memphis. And before I start the story, I'm just gonna tell you right off the bat, this is not going to be what you think is going to be. Just setting the expectation right now. I just wanted to give like this story context wise, so y'all have stories at least to compare to, but I do have also my own commentary now looking back, because it was like 9 years ago when this happened. This was in 2015, so it's been a minute now, but I wanted to share the story just because looking back, even during that time, there was like, you know, a moment of like, really? Like, but it's okay. So we're gonna jump into the story before I get ahead of myself, of basically how I had dinner with Drake's dad in Memphis, and basically what had happened. And I will have photos and stuff throughout this story time so that you guys can see context wise of what I'm saying. Back in 2015, I used to work for a retail company. I'm not gonna say which one, because that's like, it's not relevant to the story, but basically they had flown out a couple of people from our store to open up the Memphis, not necessarily in Memphis, it was like about like 30-40 minutes drive from Memphis itself, in this kind of like mall area, like outside mall area. We were opening up a retail store there, very popular retail store. Again, I'm not gonna mention which one because it's like not necessary, but basically, so we were being flown out for 17 days in August to open up this retail store and basically get it set up. So what basically the company was doing is like, okay, well, you guys, because I was part of opening my store in the Bronx, so they were like, okay, you guys are great at doing that, and we need to open this one up in Memphis, so we're gonna fly you out. And it was kind of like a work trip. At this point in time, I was 25 years old. This was 9 years ago. And so there was a bunch of people from New York City, the New York City stores themselves, that got picked to go to this trip. So it wasn't just my store, and I was not the only person that got to go. There was like a good amount of people from different stores that got to go, but the majority of the team were from the New York City stores. And I was one that got chosen to go. So basically, you know, we flew in, we were staying at the Hamptons hotel, not again in Memphis, like we were in Memphis, but we were like about 30-40 minutes away by Uber from like the main city. So just to keep that context going. So we were in Memphis, so anytime you hear me saying Memphis, that's what I mean, except for when I say I'm in the city. So we were in the hotel, and throughout the period that we were there, that we were working on our off time, when we were in the hotel and everything, we had become, me and a girl that worked in the same store, so we kind of stayed close because some of the other folks were from different stores and we didn't really know them, so we kind of stayed close because we were the ones representing our store. We ended up becoming really like kind of friendly with the person that worked the front desk, who was a really nice, just like gay dude, really nice. Always, we would just, you know, chit chat every time we would be in the lobby. We'd just check in on him and like see how he was doing. He was super sweet. And then basically after some time passed, it was like we were there for 17 days, and I want to say this was like the last couple days, and it was literally the last, like the second to last day that we were there. He randomly just says, hey, so did I forget to tell you guys that Drake's uncle works here? And me and her like just like looked at each other, and we looked at him, and we were like, huh? And he was like, yeah, he actually works here. He like helps to like fix like the rooms and stuff when like stuff goes wrong and stuff. His name was like Uncle Bert. And he's upstairs right now, actually, if you want to go say hi. And we were just like, me and her were just like Drake's uncle. And it was just like, so it was like such a random thing to happen, like it literally threw us. And we just kept kind of squinching our face like this, and I was like, okay, yeah, we'll go upstairs and say hi to his uncle, sure. So we go upstairs, and he was actually literally fixing a room, just like he had said. And we were like, hey, so, you know, we introduced ourselves, like, hey, no, he just sent us up here to say hi, because he told us that you were, like, Dennis's brother, and Drake's uncle, obviously, because they're related. And he was like, yeah, and so he was really sweet, like, he was very nice, and we just had, like, a really short conversation, and he was like, yeah, you know, like, let me call up Dennis and see if you guys could take you guys out to like dinner or something. You guys can go eat, and that way you get to, like, you know, talk to his dad. And we were just like, oh, okay, I mean, sure. It was, again, this face was like, okay. So we kind of just like, okay. Mind you, we're similar ages. We were both like around 20. I think she was a year younger than me, but we were about the same age range. So just to keep it transparent. However, I'm gonna post a picture like right here, where I show you guys how I looked at the time. I am one of those people that I am older than I look. A lot of people think that to this day, I get told that I look 27, 25. Like, some people still think I'm in the teens, honestly. So this is like how I look like during this. So I want you guys to like understand that I looked like I was like 16, 17, honestly. Like, I looked fairly young. And nobody ever asked us for our ages or anything like that. It was just like, oh, you know, like, let me call him up. So he basically, his uncle calls him up, and he's like, hey, I have some young ladies. He definitely said that. He's like, hey, I got some young ladies here that, like, you know, they're super sweet. They're visiting from New York, and, you know, I was calling so you could maybe take them out to dinner and, you know, show them a good time. That's literally what he had said. And I remember like that whole conversation, because I was still like in my head, we just kept, me and the girl, I'm not gonna say her name, we just kept looking at each other like, is this real? Like, is somebody pranking us? Like, is this a joke kind of vibe? It was not a joke. So you know, his uncle was super sweet. He just literally felt like an uncle, basically. But I don't know, he was nice, like nothing weird. But yeah, so he just called, aside from like the conversation of like, hey, yeah, just take him out, show him a good time. And so he told us where to, which restaurant to meet his dad in. He gave us his number. We were like texting him. So we were texting his dad, and he gave us both like Uncle Bert's number and his dad's number, so just in case, like, you know, we could just text. So we basically got ready, and me and her, we looked at each other and we're like, okay, if this is some sort of prank or if it gets weird, we'll just get on an Uber. We're going together anyway, so we'll just get on an Uber and just come back, or just go into the city, go eat somewhere else. Or if it feels weird, we'll just exit, you know. And it was like, it was better that I was not going alone, obviously, because if it wasn't a alone thing, I would have been like, no. But because it was like the both of us, I was like, okay, I feel like you can navigate this a little bit. I'm 25 years old, even though they don't know that, but I'm 25. You know, I can get around. So I was like, okay. So we kind of had that plan of like, hey, if anything, we'll just go to the bathroom, just leave, whatever. So we get to the restaurant first, actually. And we're sitting right by the bar, and I don't remember what the restaurant was, but I know it was like a bar restaurant, so it's kind of like you could sit at the bar, you could just sit at the table. We were sitting at the bar, and we were talking to the bartender, and we were like, yeah, random story, and then we started telling, you know, the story how we ended up there, and the bartender was like, oh yeah, Dennis comes in here all the time. Yeah, he's always like talking to someone or having dinner with someone. He's actually ate at every single restaurant in Memphis. Like, everybody knows him. Like, that's kind of the other thing, that if you go to Memphis, everybody knows this man. And this is the part where I'm talking about in the city of Memphis. So we took an Uber down there, and so we were at the restaurant, and the bartender was just hella cool. Like, they were, and it was a girl, so it was just like, it made the whole situation like a lot more chill. Like, it was just like, oh, okay, so this is a normal thing, it's not like weird. So we were just sitting there, and he was running a little bit late, but then he finally got there. He was pretty nice the whole conversation. He didn't like touch us inappropriately or anything like that. We just said hi, and we sat down. I ordered shrimp and some fries, and throughout the whole time, it literally felt like we were just talking to like an uncle, and they were telling us stories. So he was telling us stories of how, you know, he met Drake's mom, of, you know, like his time in Canada, and he was also showing us like on his phone like how Drake fans who he's like met before, who they asked for his number and stuff, were still hitting him up to try to get Drake's number. Like, he was showing us on his phone, like, look at this, look at these girls, they're crazy. And we literally would be seeing conversations like, oh, hey, can I get, you know, Drake's number? It was just weird, well, fan behavior, I guess. And he was just telling us stories about like people he met, but mainly about like Drake, and like how, and him growing up in Memphis, and also, you know, like going to Canada, and like him not being able to go and stuff. It was literally just like if you had a story time with your uncle about his life. Like, it literally was that. It was not like we didn't have an inappropriate experience. It was not like weird or anything. He was just telling us stories, and then we ate, and then afterwards, and we didn't even drink like a liquor or anything like hard or anything like that. We were just like, I had a water and I had my shrimp and my fries. And afterwards, you know, we ordered an Uber, and he had paid for the meal, so he did pay for the meal. He was like, no, I got it, no problem. We ordered an Uber to get back to our hotel, and, you know, like, he waited there for us to make sure we got on the Uber safe and everything, and then that's when we took the pictures. And we went back to the hotel. Now, the interesting part of this whole situation is like, looking back in hindsight, right? Because hindsight is 2020. One, I know that I look at the time in 2015, 9 years ago, I looked way younger than what I looked. Like, I definitely looked like more of a teenager. Just looking even back at those pictures, I was so much more skinnier, different size, different everything. Like, I literally looked like I was 16, 17 if you look at those pictures. So definitely very, very young. Again, my experience with him was not creepy or weird, and I've seen that certain people are coming out saying they've had weird and, you know, inappropriate experiences with him. My experience was not that, but I could definitely speak to the fact that I was younger than I looked, and I was still able to go to dinner with him, which was interesting. There's somebody on YouTube, I saw a video of them, someone was like, oh, like father like son, they're accusing, you know, the dad now, and I was just like, that's such a weird, like, it's a thought, especially having my own personal experience. It's like, I definitely had no business, like, you know, going to dinner with his dad. Like, there was just like, but there's this aspect of like when you're in Tennessee where it's just like Southern hospitality vibes, like everybody's just like really nice, and they, you know, if you need help, you'll be taken care of, kind of thing. But at the same time, it was like, yeah, but I still look like a teenager, and I still got to go to dinner with this man. And that's just like odd to think about now. And it's really funny because personally for me, I'm not really that big of a Drake fan. I was more into Drake when he was in Degrassi, because I actually watched Degrassi. My sister's the big Drake fan. So when I actually told her that, you know, I got to go to dinner with his dad, and that he started following me on Instagram afterwards, and like I had his number and everything, she was like freaking out, like, oh my god, I can't believe you know Drake's dad. It was like this whole thing with her, but because she's a huge Drake fan. But me, I was just like, I like him more in the show, and yeah, you know, he has some good songs here and there, but he's not one of my favorite artists. I don't listen to him like that. And, you know, for me, the whole experience was like, okay, yeah, cool, I met Drake's dad. But I wasn't like, you know, like, I'm not like super fan kind of thing. So it's interesting now also looking back at some of the things that he has said regarding other people. because one of the things that I before I made this video, I was trying to find that video, that kind of context of someone coming out and saying something, because I saw that on YouTube, and I was trying to find a news story on it, but I didn't find it. However, what I did find was him saying some really kind of odd things, like how he supports R. Kelly. Amid, you know, his inappropriate, you know, conduct with women. And this was in 2019. So that's cringy. That's one. The other thing is that, like, that video that came out where he's saying, like, oh, my advice to, like, you know, the hashtag #MeToos is not to go into any rooms with men. And then the video that came out where, you know, how he was kind of touching that girl. I don't know. I feel like looking back, I definitely see him a little bit different now, especially his views with, like, R. Kelly, because that's like, there's too much evidence, and I've seen too much, what was the documentaries and stuff, like, there's too much evidence, like, to be supporting R. Kelly at in any timeline at this point. So and then also having, like, his son's allegations and his behavior, like, kind of predatory-ish behavior, like Drake's predatory behavior, is also weird. So it's just, I don't know, looking back in hindsight, it just feels weird. It feels like back then when it happened, I was just like, yeah, I had dinner with Drake's dad. But it's still like that face, like, is this a thing? Like, why is it happening? Is this appropriate? I mean, I guess, okay. I mean, again, I was 25 at the time. I didn't think anything of it in that kind of scope of, aside from, like, making sure that we were safe and we had, like, a game plan if it wasn't going to be a safe thing. But other than that, I wasn't like, oh, you know, why would an older dude be hanging out with that? But I mean, there was an undertone of that, but that wasn't, like, the big kind of focus. And now, like, looking at everything, it's weird. It feels weird. And this is what I mean by, like, this story is not what you think it's gonna be. Like, it was not gonna be like expose. It wasn't gonna be that. But just looking back at it and reflecting it myself, I definitely look younger than what I was, and that could have been deemed very much inappropriate. Nobody asked me for my age during that time. I don't know. Nobody asked the girl that was there with me either. Like, it was just, I don't know. Like, at the time that it happened, I was just like, yeah, I had dinner with Drake's dad. And, you know, we went back to the store and we were telling everybody, like, oh yes, randomly we had dinner with dad too. That happened. But it was still kind of like, yeah. I'm glad that my experience wasn't, you know, inappropriate. But it's unfortunate seeing his commentary on, you know, R. Kelly and some of the, you know, alleged behavior that has come out in relation to Dennis and also in relation to Drake. So yeah, so that's kind of my story time. I hope that you guys enjoyed the story. I'm sorry if it was a little bit all over the place, but yeah, that was it basically. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.